Hello everybody, this is Eric here with you. Some of you know me as Rusty Greer fan from Blowout and FCB. Others might know me as Squealer from Check Out My Cards or eBay. Anyway, I've seen all you fancy pants guys out there with your $4,000 cards and whatnot, and I'm tired of looking at them. So here is my not top 10. Not top 10 because it's really not 10 cards, but also just some of my memories from 90s cards and just other interesting stuff that I've picked up over the years. And I promise, since I am Rusty Greer fan, there will be a little bit of Rusty Greer in here. And so you're already seeing here, oh boy, 1993 Leaf. I promise it'll get a little bit better than this. That's not what I'm looking at here. Have you ever looked at the back of these cards? This is like a precursor to 98 Metal. 5 years before 98 Metal comes out. This is like a precursor to 98 Metal and Skylines. Look at the back of these base cards. You got these beautiful... now, I lived in the Seattle area, so I'm used to pictures of the Space Needle. This is a picture of the Space Needle at dusk. So you got this kind of eerie orange glow. It looks fantastic. Then you got this at like, I don't know, dusk or something. The sun is just gleaming off the buildings. It looks fantastic. And I just love how ahead of their time they kind of were on the back of base cards, covered up by stats and crap. And that's not even all here. Look at this. We got on base cards, we got the rainbow foil team logo. I mean, they couldn't even bother to do that nice a foil on the 94 Pinnacle Artist Proof. I don't know. Just showing off something that you don't notice. We're so conditioned and brainwashed by the companies to tell us what's rare, what's valuable, what has worth. And we never actually, I don't think, look at the artistic value of cards, unless it's those rarities. Here is one of my all-time, favorite sets. 1993 Select All-Star Rookie Team. And of course, who doesn't love Dufex? Do we not have like a National Dufex Day yet? We need to come up with that. What kind of reminded me of this was somebody earlier, just a little bit ago, had the unopened box of 93 Select Series 1, which was an okay product for the time. The green base card's a little ugly. 1 in 18 hobby, I believe. You get the Select Stars, which had the kind of plain green Dufex. Retail, I think, had the plain red rookies, and then some kind of a magazine pack had the all silver Select Aces. They were dazzling, but they were a little bit boring. They really stepped it up in Series 2. Now, in Series 1, what they did that was really good, they had a nice full checklist of like 24 star players. What they did in Series 2, what I love, is just the design of these cards. The bold bars with the team colors. This bar down here looks super nice too. I love the baseball with the star in the background. And just the beautiful Dufex. Where else are you going to find your turquoise and orange on a card for the Marlins? That's fantastic. What's lacking is the checklist is only 10 cards. And, I mean, Conine was alright, Salmon was alright, the big hit's Piazza, but the rest is just a bunch of crap dudes like Greg McMichael, Brent Gates, Rene Arocha, David Holtz. I mean... No offense to Brent Gates' mom, but that's no bueno. Let me get a little bit closer to these cards so you can really get a look. This doesn't pop like some of the other Dufex stuff. The Nolan Ryan that comes out of the exact same product, that'll poke your damn eyes out. But these still are just beautifully done. I love the photos. They're kind of close up. They really have some balance there, and another thing that they did well, in Series 1, these cards were 1 in 18, so way overproduced. But in Series 2, 1 in 58. So if you imagine if they'd done 1 in 58, plus with the bigger checklist with like 24 players, that would have been a fantastic chase back in the early 90s. So this is kind of a shout out to some of you. I really appreciate you guys. Every once in a while somebody will message me and say, hey, I've got an artist proof from 95 Pinnacle of Rusty Greer. Do you want it? No, I don't want it. Do you have it? Actually, no, I don't. My issue here is I'm kind of funny. This is not Rusty Greer. This is Jeff Fry. I do see that there's the rainbow foil version of this as well on eBay for cheap. I'm just going to let it go. I don't collect Jeff Fry, just Rusty Greer. I don't care what the card says. But they made it up to me later in the decade. Pacific did me a solid. I do collect this card. This is not Mike Lamb. This is Rusty Greer. Thank you, Pacific. Okay, this is one of my best memories in collecting. 1994 score. Oh my gosh, that top border looks terrible here. It's actually not that bad. That's a bit of a gleam from the top there. 94 score, The Cycle. I was big into this. I didn't have any money. I could do $1 a pack. That's what score was back then. I can still smell that Mylar on my fingers. So my dad was visiting me. We went to the card shop. I bought a box, and I pulled like The Cycle Griffey. We were so stoked. I said, Father, would you buy me a box? So we went back in, and then we pulled the Frank. And I think that's when I learned that cases of 94 score, they were actually running the, you can actually see the checklist here on the back. They were actually running in numerical order. So my local card shop, Waltz Baseball Cards in Linwood, Washington, if anybody recognizes that name, that case had like all the Homer guys, which was all the big name guys. And it was just kind of cool. I wish I had an example here. You got a card that had Bonds and Juan Gone on the same card, and Bell and Williams. That was pretty cool. Anyways, just a beautiful dark bordered card, despite how it looks on this video. They actually did not have, it was not condition sensitive. It was pretty easy to get well cut, all dark borders, no white showing or anything like that. And the reason I'm showing this, I just went to the National, my first National this year. Lo and behold, this card that used to book for like 30 or 40, it was in a dollar bin, and it just broke my heart. I had to buy it out of the, just the principle of the thing. Still on my score kick was I in 95. I loved the Gold Rush. I felt like with the Gold Rush you got something out of every pack. I tried to build the sets. Well, then in 95 they did me one better and said, hey, don't just collect the Gold Rush for the sets. Go platinum. Oh man, I was so stoked. Oh, the redemption program, look at that, how that dazzles. And so for those of you that weren't around then or collecting, you just build the team set in Gold Rush, send it into Score, and you get the platinum team set. Well, I didn't really do Series 1. All my favorite players, a bunch of the star subset stuff, like the Hitters Inc. or whatever, that was in Series 2. But I still did some Series 1, and I was able to put together a few team sets. Well, when I did that, not only did you get the platinum back, you got your Gold Rush stamped with this Pinnacle thing. Well, I was an idiot back then. And to me, that meant they had just devalued, defaced, devalued the card. I threw mine out. So that's how dumb I was back then. And honestly, a bunch of these actually came back pretty damaged. If I recall, they came back to me in sandwich bags, and I can't even remember. Maybe I sent them to them in sandwich bags, but all the corners were dinged, as I recall. Of course, Pinnacle stopped doing that. That's why you can't find these in Series 2, because they're like, what are we doing stamping all these cards? They're getting what they want. These platinum sets, they are beautiful. So that's just a funny story from my past, a big mistake I made as a collector. I just got to give a shout out to Pinnacle in 96. They made this card. A 96 checklist. Look at the names they had to to come up with in '96. So Chipper hadn't done anything yet, really. Cal was a slam dunk. Maddox probably. Of course, Griffey and Frank were a big deal, but they hadn't put together their career yet. This is almost like a who's who of the '90s. Now, the only person maybe missing is Jeter. I kind of associate him more with the... Of course, this isn't the artist proof. That would be even better. That's just an amazing card to me. The foresight they had to get all 6 of those guys on one card. This is just a personal favorite of mine. This is not whole gang. Rusty was a big fan favorite in Texas. He did all kinds of signing. But this looks really cool. This perfectly fits his signature. This is one of his best signatures, in-person signatures I've seen. This not whole gang thing that actually almost acts like a frame for his autograph. I think it looks fantastic. I got it for like $3 delivered one day on eBay. I don't know about you guys. In 1989, when Upper Deck came out, I couldn't afford a dollar pack. I was just a dumb kid. But when I could afford, cards were the very next year in '90. And to me, some of the most iconic cards of the early '90s were these just 90-leaf base cards. Well, how do you take it up a notch? Donruss Collections did just that in '98. They took their curtain calls, reprints, then put a refractor finish. Oh my God. This is like my iconic cards from the early '90s, but with a refractor finish. With a print run of 440, they're not too hard to get a hold of. You might have to pay $20 or something. They're just amazing to look at. Highly recommended. Go for them. So, living in the Seattle area, we had like the pinnacle of our franchise's history was we won a playoff series. Now, I know that sounds totally lame to most of you, but for us, man, that was a big deal. And it was a big deal in the community. It's hard to explain. It was like a World Series to us. So many good memories with it. I worked at McDonald's at the time, working in the drive-through lane. And I just remember when this playoff series was going on, this was '95 series against the Yankees. People would come through with this on the radio, and it was the same vibe I got from when I worked Christmas Eve. People were so nice. There was like this weird sense of community all surrounding the Mariners. And of course, this was when they won the game. And when I came back to the hobby in 2010, I was like, is there not a card? Or wouldn't it be cool if there was a card that had this moment? And it's like, well, yeah, there is. This was even from back when I was collecting. I don't know how I didn't remember it. So I had to pick up the artist proof. Mariners fans unite. All right. 95 Upper Deck. I don't know if you guys remember this. All you had to do was like collect X number of, I did not put that Scotch tape on there. You just collect X number of wrappers from 95 Upper Deck and send it in. I don't remember if they told me what I was going to get or if it was a surprise, but I got 2 of these. Roger Clemens Jumbo Autos. Had the certificate of authenticity, the Telltale Upper Deck foil stickery thing. Not a Clemens fan, but that was just a cool thing that they did back then. Send us your wrappers. And so I did. Alright. Let's leave that for last. Here's kind of an oddball. Since this group is early 2000s as well, this looks like just your generic 2002 Studio Griffey, except for that big foil thing. And I'm not completely sure what this is, but here's what we found from our research. There is a thread about this on FCB, I believe. So that's an All-Star Game stamp from when the All-Star Game was, I think, Milwaukee, Miller Park that year. The rumor has it, or the story goes, that these were supposed to be produced and then inserted into programs at the All-Star Game. Thousands of people went to this game. If that was true, why don't these surface? What this came from was just one of your sellers on Beckett Marketplace. I think it was Addison Park. Had almost like a complete set of these. And so if the intention was for these to get given away at All-Star Weekend that weekend, I don't think it happened. maybe the program got scrapped or whatever, but the cards got made. I don't know how much of these got produced. I don't know when they're going to pop up again. So far, I've only seen them with Addison Park. So I snatched up the Griffey, just a big, beautiful stamp on a really sharp-looking patriotic card of Griffey. Everything else is just like the base. Just one of those oddities that you might want to keep an eye out for if you're a player collector or a team collector. I promise I'm getting close to the end. Where were you? What was it? April 22nd, 2011. Well, if you weren't on COMC, you were missing out. Check out my cards back then. This is not as it seems. I just got my presidential alert, whatever the hell that is. This is the executive proof. April 22nd, 2011, in the evening, I believe, Dallas Card Boys lists a huge lot of executive proof Crusades. Now, not the superstars. There was no like Jeter or Griffey or Frank. I think you can see that in the ended listings or whatever. But tons of legit players, better than Rusty, like Chipper and Ricky, reds, purples, greens, and he had them very reasonably priced. He was not the Dallas Card Boys of today. They were underpriced. But the kicker was he was accepting 50% offers on auto accept. So if you found a Crusade that he was listing all at the same time and just punched in a 50% offer, it went through. So I got the purple and the green Rusty Greer executive proofs. So many people made out that night. So many people, and it wasn't even over at that point. I think that a bunch of them just stayed up for days. 3 days later, I picked up like Sandy Alomar Jr., red and purple, and then a John Smoltz purple. Still 50% off. I got them for like the Smoltz purple was 30, the Alomar red was 20, and the Alomar green was like 15. It was just amazing. You had to be there. If you weren't, you missed out. So this is probably my favorite card in my Rusty Greer collection. I've got a 1 of 1. This is not a 1 of 1, but I consider it something like one. You can't tell probably. I had authenticated here. This is a little bit oversized. And as you can see, it's numbered 0. So it's kind of like, I don't know, you might dismiss it as just an executive proof. And I don't have a bad word to say necessarily about executive proofs because I think we know a little bit about them and why they were made and that kind of thing. And yes, I badmouth some of the backdoor stuff, some of the dumpster dive stuff, some of the stuff that's been found at a printer and cut up. I do badmouth that stuff. This, to me, feels different. I got this probably within a year of the release of 98 Fleer. This, as you can tell, is a 63 Fleer Classic out of 1998 Fleer Tradition. But it looks completely legit, like it happened in-house, like there was some sort of a purpose or a reason that it was made. When I picked it up on eBay, there was a Pudge Rodriguez at the exact same time. I always wished that I'd picked that up as well. I guess bad news for player collectors. Your player might be out there, but it's something to keep an eye out for. This is just, I think it looks beautiful. I think it looks better with the chunkier borders with more white. Of course, this is just a classic sports card design from 1963, and it's just beautiful. And this foil stamp in the pack pulled versions, there was a lot of production damage, a lot of scuffing on this foil. This foil right here is perfect. This is my favorite Rusty Greer card. So there you have it, Rusty Greer fan. I did throw in a few Rusties, not top 10, a little bit of stories behind the cards and a little bit of nostalgia. Thanks guys, sorry for the long video.